All right, let's take you back to one of our developing stories. Questions are being asked about a possible breach of security in Parliament. This after a parliamentary employee shot and killed himself in the building. Paramedics and police are on the scene. Some eyewitnesses say they saw a man holding a gun inside one of the parliamentary buildings. Let's cross to our reporter, Lukhanyo Calata, who's standing by. Lukhanyo, what transpired exactly and where exactly in Parliament did this chap kill himself?
Nompo, good afternoon. Well, this gentleman, is alleged to have committed suicide in the building called 90 Plain. It is, as you walk or drive into Parliament here by the main gate, it is almost the first right that you make will take you right into this building that is referred to as 90 Plain. What happens is that most of the parliamentary staff are situated in this building, where all the committee secretaries and everybody, that is where they sit. And what we understand, Nompo, is that this gentleman that, is alleged to have committed suicide, his contract was not going to be renewed. We heard a little bit this morning, or shortly after the incident happened, that there had been a meeting yesterday to obviously discuss his contract renewal, and apparently it did not go very well for him. Hence the decision, obviously, to then come to Parliament to commit suicide. That is what we were told by some of his colleagues, who say that this gentleman, they'd worked with him for a while, that he was under contract, and that what we understand, or what they told us, was that his contract was not being renewed. But it happened shortly just before the 12 o'clock this afternoon, and it said that he walked into the building. We spoke to some journalists who were sitting in a committee meeting at the time, who said that they heard someone walking around, and he may have been kind of waving around, his firearm, and then after that they heard a shot, and possibly the fatal shot for this gentleman. What we can also, as you were saying in the intro there, Nompo, was the fact that this obviously calls into question the issue of security around Parliament. And just before we went on air, we received a statement from the office of the presiding officers, and I'll just quickly like to read that now. It says that Parliament's presiding officers are shocked and saddened at the passing away this morning of a parliamentary official who allegedly took his own life at Parliament. Parliament is in the process of informing the deceased official's family, and the presiding officers will visit that family. The incident has obviously caused trauma and distress among Parliament's members of staff and the institution as a whole. Necessary assistance is being arranged to help them come to terms with the tragedy, and further details will be provided once the family has been informed. Nompu, so far we also know that the deceased body is still inside the building. It has yet obviously to be removed. Nompu?
What I wanted to ask you, I mean, I've been to Parliament when we're visiting there for budget and so on, and I know that the security procedures are quite strict indeed, and I see in your visuals there, no gun sign and so on. So what is the procedure when you're going through Parliament, through the Parliament gates, in terms of holding a gun, whether you're a normal citizen or an employee there?
Well, the normal procedure obviously is that unless you are an official of the South African Police Service or of the VIP protection, such as for the presidents and for some of the ministers, you're not allowed to walk around with the firearm on the precinct. But I mean, for someone who's been here, I come here every day, and I can tell you that all I have to do is just wave my tag most of the time, and then they let me through. Very rarely do I ever get stopped. Very rarely do I ever get searched. So I mean, if I did have a firearm, on my person, the chances are I would be able to get you through. We posed this question a little bit earlier on to the spokesperson of Parliament, to Mr. Moloto Mutapo, and we said to him, we asked him how was this allowed to happen. He couldn't obviously give us an answer, but did say that the presiding officer officers will definitely take that matter up with the South African Police Service, because obviously Parliament is a national key point, and nobody, whether or not you're an employee or off the street, you're not supposed to be able to walk into Parliament with a firearm and, you know, just go basically wherever you please. Imagine, for instance, if somebody off the street is able to walk in and the president is here or the deputy president is here, it does pose a real danger. Nompo?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what I was going to say to you. In this instance, the poor gentleman obviously was depressed and so on and decided to commit suicide at his place of work. But what if he had other intentions and decided to, you know, shoot other people other than himself? It could have been quite dramatic. And so are we putting questions around whether they're going to be beefing up security going forward? I mean, we have the midterm budget just around the corner where hundreds of people are likely to descend on Cape Town.
Nampu, we spoke to the spokesperson of Parliament, to Mr. Moloto Mothapo, a little bit earlier on. He was very non-committal on this issue of security, basically saying that, look, the issue of security on the parliamentary precinct is a matter of the South African Police Service. However, the police service haven't said anything yet. We tried to push him on this matter to say that Parliament can't just cop out and say, well, that's an issue that the police service must deal with. Mr. Mothapo then said that the speakers or the presiding officers will definitely be taking this matter up with the South African Police Service. Unfortunately, I would love to be able to tell you a little bit more about what is going to happen now in terms of security in Parliament, but we don't have that information yet. And I can assure you that when we do have the opportunity to ask the presiding officers what's going to happen in terms of security, we will ask that. We did manage to speak to some, just normal and ordinary parliamentary staff who expressed to us their fear as to, how was this allowed to happen, because they're now obviously also feeling unsafe, because what if this gentleman had decided, that before he attempts to take his own life, he will shoot other people that are inside the precinct. This is something that we've seen quite regularly happening in the United States of America, and I mean, we've been really fortunate in South Africa because we haven't really experienced something like that. But what if today this gentleman had decided to do so? It could have been a bloodbath, and it would have been very difficult to stop, because obviously he was in here. Nompo?
Thanks very much, Lukhanyo, for that report. My colleague Lukhanyo Calata reporting from Cape Town there in Parliament.